Hello, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our episode of today. I want to be. Oh, I got a little background noise. Let's see what is going on. All this noise. Where is it coming from? Let's see. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so I know if you all have been watching my shows, you know that I try using different video, screens and things like that. So I'm trying something called StreamYard. So if you guys never tried it before, you should try it out, see if you like it. But all of my shows are usually produced on Zoom. But the reason why I want to try something new out was because I just like to see what's out there, and that's what you have to do. And especially with this show, like career exploration, I like to explore different video chat. You see how I just tied all of that in? But but it's good to explore and try new things. I'm really excited that you all are watching our March interview. Our Today I Want to Be Career Exploration interview, and I'm here with Mrs. Joseph, Mrs. March, Mrs. Dionne Joseph. So she is our teacher. So I know all October through December, you were hearing me talk about this calendar and the professionals that was featured in the calendar and things like that. And so I'm really excited that I have Dionne here on the show because she's going to tell us more about what it is like to be a teacher. Now, I know when I was growing up, I had some fabulous teachers, and I was able to get to know Dionne, and she is just really a passionate person about education and teaching kids. We are in the Orlando area, and she's going to talk to you more. Now, the way that we make this show a lot more interactive is when you bring your child here to watch the show first off, because this show is mainly for our middle schoolers through college students, so they can explore different career fields and they don't feel stuck, when they're 35 years old and like, man, I wish I would have. You can now. That's why I want to give them that opportunity to ask these professionals questions about their careers so they can just see, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? So go get your child now, bring them to the show, and then have them type their questions and comments in the comment field, and I can ask those questions to Dionne as well. Another thing is, if you say, man, I really like Miss Joseph and I want to connect with her, her contact information is listed in the description box. So now also I would love for you to follow my different pages for Today I Want to Be, because this is ongoing. This is just not going to stop in 2020 this year. I'm doing next year, 2021, 2022. And right now I'm actually looking for Black men and Black women so that I can actually have them be featured in 2021's calendar. And the way that we make this concept a reality and a success is I didn't want to just focus on one ethnicity, which is Black people. I include all ethnicities. So for 2022, I'm going to be featuring Hispanic women. So that doesn't mean that I'm no longer going to be featuring Black women and Black men. What it means is I'm adding on each year. Each year I'm adding on a different gender and a different ethnicity. So if you're interested in being featured, just go ahead and put a comment below and let me know if you're interested. So let's get to Mrs. Joseph. Can you tell the viewers just a little bit more about yourself, please?
Well, my name is Mrs. Joseph. I am the VPK teacher at Hungerford Elementary. Shout out to Hungerford Elementary in historic Eatonville, Florida. Whoop, whoop, where Mrs. Letitia Harris is the awesome and amazing principal there. I am the mother of two fabulous children. Actually, 5 fabulous children now. I just got married and I got some bonus children.
Congratulations. Yay.
Hey. I am a native Floridian. I went to Washington Shores Elementary School. I went to Memorial Middle and Carver Middle School, and then graduated from Evans High School. So if there are any Trojans watching, class of 1990. And then from there, I went to UCF. So I never really left this area. I grew up here. I love it here, raising my family here. So
that's excellent. So now what grade do you actually teach?
I teach pre-K, 4 and 5-year-olds.
Oh gosh, the kiddies.
Yes. I get that reaction every time I say that.
Oh my goodness. So that means you have a lot of patience.
Yes, I have been told that time and time again. I hear it almost daily. The patience that I have, it is only from above. That's the only way I can explain it.
I know that's right.
Yes.
So what does a typical work day actually look like for you?
Well, I love going into work, especially in the morning when I walk into the cafeteria and all the children are there. The first thing I hear is Mrs. Joseph, and all the children scream your name. So I feel famous every single day. Walking the halls, waving, and Miss Joseph, and giving lots of hugs. So my day starts out very positive, no matter what kind of morning I've had. If I'm low on gas, my tire's flat, everything went wrong. Once I walk into the school, everything's great. The children are always on 10, and they always start my day out happy. We go into the classroom first thing in the morning. All my students have their jobs, and they do their morning jobs, their morning routine. We have circle time. We have story time. We do arts and crafts and music, lots of reading, math, science, social studies. Even though they're 4 and 5 years old, we still incorporate all of those things into their day, and those children soak up a lot. So my right hand, Mrs. Brown, I have a co-teacher in my classroom. She and I plan lots of interactive lessons that incorporate every subject for those children so that they can learn and grow.
Okay. So there's the teaching aspect. And so what kids do not get to see is, what does the life of a teacher look like after the kids leave? What does that look like?
After the kids leave, we shut the door, turn off the lights, put on some soft music, and fall out on the floor.
I don't know it. Yeah.
We probably pop open a Pepsi. I had about 2 today, and I know I shouldn't, but that's on my supply list. The parents have to bring me caffeine. So
really? No apples,
Pepsi.
Forget those apples.
No apples. Okay. I need a Pepsi to run behind your children. Yes. So afterwards, we have to clean up, put away the projects for that day, pull out the projects for the next day. So it's never ending. Today was our Leprechaun Day, St. Patrick's Day celebration, and so there was glitter everywhere. We were cutting and pasting. There was glue everywhere. Before this show, I was peeling glue off my fingers and my clothes. We had a birthday today, so there's cake frosting everywhere. So it was a very full day, and I kind of left it today. I have to go in tomorrow and do the cleaning.
Okay.
But it's
get ready for the show.
Exactly. I had to get ready to come for the show. But that's typically what we do after the students leave, is put away the day before and get ready for the next day, because we have to keep the children engaged every minute of the day. Otherwise, they go haywire, berserk, start climbing the walls. So we have to keep them very busy all the time.
So shout out to Eric Blackmon, who is watching. He says, I'm a black man. Hey, black man. So Eric, we would love to have you featured in next year's calendar if you're interested.
Great in that calendar.
Yeah. So talk to us about, because I know that you said that like today you're getting ready for after the kids left, you're getting ready for the next day.
Right.
I didn't hear anything about planning. When do you actually plan? Like, is it for the week or do you have to plan for the entire year?
Well, no, you don't plan for the entire year. We generally plan week to week.
Okay.
And the upper grade teachers, they get planning time, and the children go to specials. With pre-K, it's a little bit different because we are literally with the children all day long.
Okay.
Like, they don't go to specials. Our class does actually go to music once a week, and that's a planning time for me. We get planning time first thing in the morning, so from about 8 to 8:45. But we have our lesson plans set out for the week.
Hmm.
Early days are a great day for my co-teacher and I to plan what we're going to do from Wednesday to the following Tuesday. And then even in that planning, based on what the children are expected to learn, what our learning goals are, we look at our data, and we do a lot of summative testing, formative testing, just to kind of see where the children are and if they're getting the concepts we're teaching. And then day to day, we look at the end of the day at, okay, who got this concept, who didn't, who needs to be retaught, who's got it and can move on to something else. And those are things that we do daily.
Hmm.
So there's a weekly plan. There's a monthly themed plan. So when I'm teaching my students the months, I explain to them something different happens every month, which is why it's so important to know the months, And so this month is St. Patrick's Day. We talked about Ireland and um, the leprechauns and things like that. And it's also spring, the first day of spring. So we talk about seasons. So we have a monthly theme. Then we have something weekly we're talking about. And then even daily, the skills that they have to learn. We have to continually revisit those skills to make sure that every child is learning what we want them to learn.
So that sounds like a lot. Are you and Mrs. Brown, because you said you all plan this stuff during the daytime, is that enough time to plan an entire week? Like, how do y'all do that?
Well, we have a lesson plan that's laid out, but the children, as you may or may not know, are continually going to deviate you from that plan. So we start out with a plan that this is what we want them to learn. This is their learning goal. And then depending on how they learn, and that's one of the challenges of teaching is so many different learning styles and every child is different.
Hmm.
So again, in the upper grades, every child has to be taught the same thing, the same way, and everybody's doing their lesson the same way, same time. In pre-K, it's different in that I have the flexibility of catering to each child's learning style.
Mm.
So that's where I get to be creative and I see, okay, this child may not necessarily get it through, writing or coloring or sitting with cards, but you know what? When I put it in a song, he gets it. So that's when Miss Brown and I'll get together and come up with some songs or come up with some chants, or some children are visual where
Hmm.
they can hear it over and over and won't get it. But if I have it up all over the room, so then we have to plan to make the lesson a little more visual for specific children. So planning takes a lot of mental energy. It takes a lot of time, and the school day it goes so quickly. It is a challenge, but it is a great challenge. It's something that, once a child does get something that we're trying to teach, we celebrate. It's satisfying.
Yeah.
We're like, yes, we did it, and we move on to the next thing. So every day
So,
is a challenge, and it's a rewarding challenge.
yeah. So now, just as a teacher, I feel like you're always like maybe in that creative mode. Um, do you have like downtime for yourself, like a real weekend where you can just relax, or are you always like, "Ooh, this would be good for my class. This would be great."
When I tell you, I have people strategically placed all around the city that
Uh,
know, oh, Mrs. Joseph will love these paper towel rolls, or Mrs. Joseph will love these bottle tops, or I
mhm.
have somebody brought me a whole bag of empty bottles, and then I'm thinking, wow, this is great. How can I use this in my class? So yes, I'm always thinking about things that I can do to benefit my class. Just this morning, I wrote this song for a student that is having difficulty separating the phonemes in a word, separating the onset and rhyme, the beginning of the word from the end of the word. And so just was in the shower. I hear it in my sleep. If I'm riding down the road, I have my little voice recorder out so I don't forget. So I'm always thinking of my students and what I can do. It's difficult to have downtime. And the only time I really find I get downtime is when I'm away. Like I have to go out of town, and that's when I have some downtime. So last downtime I had was in November. I was in Jamaica, in the Caribbean Sea, and I didn't think about not one of my students or school or anything. But on the way back, I did.
Yeah.
And,
Back to reality.
yes, back to reality. I absolutely did. This spring break, today was the last day of school for spring break. So
Okay.
tomorrow I'm going to go in and clean up a little bit. I'm going to plan for the week when we return. And unfortunately, I have that whole day with no children to just kind of think and get that week planned out as best I can based on the learning styles of the students that I have.
So I do want to give a shout out to Beatrice Maynard that is watching. Also,
Maybe.
Xavier Joseph is watching.
Hey, Zay.
So Xavier asks, where do you work?
Where do I work? I work at Hungerford Elementary School. That's in Eatonville, Florida. Hungerford Elementary, Eatonville, Florida. That is right on the backside of Maitland, just off I-4 and Lee Road, if you know your roads, Xavier.
Yeah. And so then Beatrice also asks, and this is a great question, Beatrice, because I was thinking the same thing. She asks, why have you continued to teach pre-K and not teach a higher grade level?
That is a great question. And I get asked to move up with my students every single year. But I remember back when I was in kindergarten. Kindergarten was fun. That's when we cut and we paced and we colored, and the children learned kind of the way students in pre-K are learning now. And kindergarten has changed so much to where, and then all of the upper grades for that matter, to where the focus is so much on testing, and you don't have the creativity to teach the way that is beneficial, I think, for all of the students. So pre-K gives me that versatility to work with the students one-on-one, work with the students, again, according to their learning styles, and I can incorporate cutting and pasting and gluing and glitter and painting and discovering and being outside, and all of that can tie into my lesson plan, and so I'm able to cater more to my students, I guess, to answer your question, in this grade level. And I just think it's so important to give my students that foundation, because in pre-K and kindergarten, if you don't get that foundation of your letters and your sounds and your rhyming, counting, number sense, and all of that, if you don't get it at this level, it's so difficult to get it in first, second, third, and fourth grade. So I really take pre-K seriously. I take my position seriously because it is such an important grade. I would say one of the most important, because once a child passes that 3, 4, 5-year-old mark, changes happen in their brain to where they're not soaking up as much. And so that's why I'm continually pouring into these 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, because it's so much more difficult for their brains to get it after that. And so I just have more flexibility as a pre-K teacher. We don't use a lot of worksheets. It's a lot more hands-on, and that's the way I think that children learn. And so that's the type of teaching I like to do.
Okay, that's good. So now, if you're just now tuning in, you are watching Today I Want to Be Career Exploration interview with Miss March. This is Mrs. Dionne Joseph, and she is a teacher. She's a pre-K teacher here in the Eatonville. Which people don't know Eatonville, but y'all know Orlando because y'all know it's
Yes.
the world. So nationwide, when you're watching, we're in the Orlando area, and she's just talking to us more about her being a teacher, why she decided to be a teacher. And I would love for your kids, your middle school through college students, to actually just ask her questions to figure out if this is a career field that they're interested in going into. So realistically, what does a teacher's summer look like?
Well, most teachers that I know we still work over the summer.
Mhm.
Um, I actually tutor my students over the summer because I
Really?
don't want them to lose everything I've taught them over the school year. Those 8 weeks are devastating to all of the hard work that we do during the school year. I really wish they would cut summers. I know some people would be like, no, but uh, that time off is it's really can be hurtful. Another thing about pre-K is that they take a test in kindergarten. They're tested the first 30 days of kindergarten,
Mhm.
and the score that my students get on that test reflects my program from the previous year. So I have a vested interest in making sure my students don't forget everything I taught them. So I tutor my students during the summer. I also, we work during the summer. We try to get a vacation in during the summer. So for me, um, do I have a family vacation planned yet? I'm not sure. Actually, I both of two of my students, two of my children are going off to college, so that's going to be my trip is getting them ready for college. But other than that, it's we very rarely rest. Definitely not the entire summer
Yeah.
because we still have to work. We have to get our classroom undone from one year and get it ready for the next year. And the 1 week they give us to do it is just not enough in
Mm.
pre-planning. So,
But
yes.
I guess my question would be, since it's a new group of kids, like why can't you just focus on teaching the same thing and keep your room the same? Because they don't know.
Well, not necessarily. Well, and okay, the pre-K and most classroom environments are very print rich. They're print rich and they're picture rich,
Okay.
and they are focused on that theme that I'm teaching right then. So there's always going to be a lot of putting up and taking down. There's a lot of pictures of my current students in my classroom
Oh,
that have to come down, and then I have to take pictures of my new students. I spend the summer doing home visits. I go and meet each of my
wow.
students before school starts. It's so very important. One year I didn't get to do it because of an illness in my family, and it hurt my first week of school so bad
Hmm.
because the children are like, you are leaving me with this stranger woman. I've never
Yeah.
seen her before. So I write a letter to each of my students, and I put a picture of Miss Brown and I. Probably about July, mid-July, I mail them that letter, and then I give them a call, talk to them on the phone. That's the second
That is
contact.
so
So
cute.
we talk on the phone, and I say, hey, I'm coming to your house to meet you. And then I go to their house and I meet them. I ask them to show me their favorite toy, color a picture for me. And then I go to their house, and every now and then the families will cook. They make a big deal about the teacher coming to visit, so I get to eat and
Yeah.
get some dessert and some Kool-Aid and fried chicken
But
in
you
case
know
any of
what?
my future students are watching.
I
So,
just never, I know that's right. Like, be prepared. But I didn't, I've never heard of a teacher doing that. Is that just something that you like thought of and just incorporated?
when I first started teaching, um, home visits were pretty big. I started teaching in 2006.
Okay.
And when I started doing home visits, some of the kindergarten teachers were doing it as well. And at my school, because we are a community school and a family school, most of the upper grade students already know their teachers. But for us lower grades, and when we get newer students in, especially for me,
Mhm.
My students, this is their first experience in a big school. It's so
Okay.
important. I have to do it. And then after I go to their house to meet them, then I invite them to come to the classroom. They have an appointment where they can see the classroom for themselves before meet the teacher.
Mhm.
The big event with meet the teacher that it's so chaotic. That way the child has had at least 3 to 4 interactions with me to just be comfortable. The first day of school, they're just ready
Mhm.
to come in and get started. So
That's
home
good.
visits are a great way to just start the year off right, and it puts the parents at ease as
Yeah.
well. The parents get to meet me. I get to tell them my expectations,
Mhm.
um, because it's pre-K for the parents as well. They have to be involved.
Mhm.
They have to be involved. They have to read to their child every night, and I require that. They have to. I send home a weekly list of activities to do with their child, not writing or worksheets, but just interactive things like this week or next week. Plan to go to the grocery store with your child. Plan to just take a walk and do a nature walk with your child. Things like that. So preparing the parents for their participation in pre-K as well. Those
Definitely.
visits are important. Mhm.
Definitely. So now, if you're just now tuning in, please share this video now, so that more people will know about Mrs. Joseph, as well as our show and the calendar. Today, I want to be. Eric Blackman asked the question, what inspired you to become a teacher?
Well, Mr. Blackman, it is in my family blood to be a teacher. My grandmother was the director of Head Start for many years, and those are 2 and 3 and 4 year olds. And then my grandmother, Grandma Sugar, she also
Grandma
had
Sue.
a home day. That's what Grandma Sugar. She had a, we called her. She always had sweets in her house.
Mhm.
Um, and she was very sweet. She also had a home daycare. She was always teaching other children. And so it was really in my blood to do so. Now, that being said, um, I'm the eldest child. I'm the oldest child, the oldest grandchild. And my mother had twins when I was 13 years old. Okay.
Hmm.
One of them is named Beatrice Maynard, who's on this show right now.
Yay.
And so because I had to be so involved in the the raising of my siblings, um, I decided I did not want to be a teacher when I came of age,
Okay.
because I was like, I don't want to be around kids at all. Those twins broke me in
Uh-huh.
right. Okay. And so I even had Miss Martinique a full scholarship at UCF to the
Mhm.
College of Education, full ride, fully paid. And I was like, I'm not doing that.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to be around kids anymore. I ran as far as I could. And so when I was flipping through the UCF catalog, I chose psychology. And I loved studying psychology. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And so I did my Jonah move and I went in this other direction. I got my degree in psychology, and
Mhm.
I worked in shelters and did types of social work and
Wow.
even worked at the jails. And that too was very rewarding, but it just wasn't what I was meant to do. And I felt it for the years that I did it. I could just feel like this is not what I'm supposed to be doing,
Mhm.
especially when I started having children. And so then one day, I felt like, again, Jonah in the belly of a whale, like, what am I supposed to be doing with my life? Because this isn't working. That's when it said, you can go and be that teacher you were supposed to be about 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And so, fortunately, because I had that psychology degree, all I had to do at the time was take a couple of tests in order to be certified as a teacher.
Okay.
So I got certified in pre-K through third grade, and then um, K through 5 elementary. And then because of the psychology degree, if I choose to do so, I could also teach the social sciences in middle and high school, which is
Hmm.
like humanities, histories, things like that. So, and I may do that. Um, in the future. But for right now, my love is pre-K and that 4 and 5 year old age.
Hmm. So shout out to Shakina Brantley who's tuning in. She says,
Hey,
"Hi, my beautiful,
Shakina.
hi, my
Hi.
beautiful sister." So if you guys can share this video now, then that would be great. So, what are realistically some of the challenges that you face as a teacher? And the reason why I asked this question to my professional, I mean to my to my professionals, is because I want kids, I want young adults and college students to know that it's not always going to be rosy, and that is the reality of working in a career field. Sometimes you're
Yes.
going to have to do things that you may not want to do. So what are some of the challenges you actually face as a teacher?
Yes, there are many challenges being a teacher. Again, it's in this day and age where everything has to be tested and all the children have to be tested. Even my 4 and 5 year olds have to be tested, and they have to be tested on the computer, and their little hands have to learn how to use that mouse and
Mm,
sit and listen and respond. And so that can be a challenge, and it can be frustrating. Again, dealing with all of the personalities of the children in the classroom.
yeah,
It can be very challenging when you have 20 students and all of them are on 10, and you have this great lesson plan and not one of them is listening to you.
yeah.
Um, and they could have had a bad day at home, and the parents could have had a bad day. Paperwork is due, reports are due, things like that. So it can be a very, very, very overwhelming job. You have to have patience. You have to have grace. You have to have a calm spirit. You
Hmm.
have to. If you don't, it's going to be very stressful. It's a very stressful job. It can be a very stressful job. You have to love kids. I happen to just love kids. They keep me young. They keep
Yes.
me vibrant. But and again, even on those days, like I said, when I'm having a bad day, because the children, they don't hold on to things for too long. It turns it around, turns the day around. But it can be very challenging. There's a lot of paperwork involved, uh, and again, a lot of testing involved uh, that can be daunting to
Mhm.
get all the testing done, get all of the paperwork done, run all of your groups, make sure every child's learning everything, work with the ones that are not, getting everything into your schedule in a day. You have to be organized. You have to be patient. You have to just learn how to roll with it. And some people are just not like that. If you're OCD and everything has to be a certain way
Yeah.
and nothing can change and you're not flexible, this is not the job for you, because
Mhm.
in a moment's notice, anything can change. And you have to be flexible to do that.
And I'm really happy that you mentioned if you're not X, Y, and Z, because we need to hear things like that.
Yes.
Maybe this is not the career for
Right.
you. And
Right.
that's why I have a variation of different professionals featured in the calendar. And that's
Yes.
why, I don't just tell people that's interested in being featured, oh well, you have to be making XY amount of money, or you have to be doing this, because I want people that truly love what they're doing. Because when you
Yes.
love what you're doing, then that just makes your life so much more enjoyable.
It does. It does.
And I know that you actually mentioned um, some of the characteristics, of being a teacher, being patient,
Yes.
being creative.
Yes.
Also, really being able to think quickly on your feet, because you have taken
Absolutely.
that time sometimes to plan those things. And those kids are like,
It's
it's
not
Joseph.
working.
It's not
It's not working. So let's do something else. Let me put on this song and y'all dance to this song real quick while I regroup.
yeah, yeah. So, what are three things that you wish someone would have told you before becoming a teacher?
I wish that someone would have told me, first of all, to just go ahead and start when I was younger.
Hmm.
If teaching is for you, just dive right in. If you really think this is something you want to do, dive right in as soon as possible. And the time just flies by. I wish that I would have started sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wish that somebody would have told me to just be a little more organized. I've been teaching about 14 years now,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not the most organized person by nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had to learn over the years different techniques for organization. And so, organization is also very important, having to keep up with what every student is learning on every skill, and a learning goal can be, again, a daunting task if you're not organized. And I'm trying, I never came up with a third thing
Yeah, it's okay.
because, uh, I really have enjoyed this teaching journey, and
Mm-hmm.
everything that I've learned along the way. Um, it has been good. I wish somebody would have told me to save a little more when I was younger, because you don't make a ton of money teaching.
Mm-hmm.
But so you really, um, while you're in school, I know for college students, Chick-fil-A and Chipotle,
Yeah.
stop spending your money and save if you're going to be a teacher, because you're going to need it. I spend a lot of money on my class and my students. That could be something too. I wish someone had told me to not buy up the entire education section of Walmart and Lakeshore.
Uh-huh.
Yes, because you can get very overly passionate about it, uh, and the children don't really need all that. They just need your dedication
Mm-hmm.
and your with itness every day.
That's good. That's
Mhm.
good. So now, I'm actually going to show her comment. So she says, "Hey TT," she said, "Do you feel a
Hey.
responsibility for your new and old ones?" What do you mean by that, Zaria? Do you understand that question?
I do, because Zaria knows that I keep in touch with my students. I don't just, when you graduate from my class, I don't just forget about you. So I'm still going to my former students' games. I go to their birthday parties. I bring them to my family events. I go to their family events. Like, I want them to understand that I'm their teacher, and
Mm,
I want to be in their life long term. And when they're doing well, I want to know about that and celebrate that at every level. And when they're not doing well and maybe need a push or a pick me up at every level,
mm,
um, I want to know that as well, because as their teacher, the children feel a responsibility to me to be successful, because I've poured into them the ability to be successful, the ability to make good decisions, the ability to think critically, the ability to treat other people nicely and fairly and respect diversity. And so when you go to kindergarten, first and second grade, and you're not doing that, they know that Mrs. Joseph is not going to be happy about that. I need you to get back on track,
mm,
because you were on track when you were with me. And vice versa, when they're doing great, I want to be right there to celebrate with them. In fact, this school year is the first year that my first class that I was teaching is graduating high school, which is kind of bittersweet. I'm just like choking up, because I'm thinking of a student in particular, that two students actually, that came to me just in the last month, and they were my pre-K students in my first class, and we still keep in touch. They're about to graduate high school, and they still are like, "Hey, I did it. I accomplished this. These are the things I'm doing." And I'm just so glad and proud to have been a part of that. So
mm.
absolutely, I feel very responsible for um, all of my students, and they know that I'm not going anywhere,
Yeah.
and that I still,
Good.
the same expectations I had for them in pre-K, I expect for them to carry on through the rest of their life,
Hmm.
and I'll
So
be here to watch and see it.
yeah, yeah. And one of the things that Mrs. Joseph, that we haven't been able to talk about is, this is actually how I got to meet Mrs. Joseph. And she's actually an author. So Billy Blank said, "Where can I get your book?" So can you just tell the viewers a little bit more about your book and how that actually ties into, you being a teacher as well?
Yes, I don't think, I know for a fact that if I were not a teacher, I would have never written this book,
Yeah.
Lola Pitts, Green Eggs and Grits. I read a lot of stories to my students.
Hmm.
I mean, we read throughout the day constantly so that we can put that love of reading into them early. And so over the years, I've just read so many silly books, and I've been like, well, if they can write this book, then I can write a book. And I said that enough times to where when the opportunity came for me to write this story, um, I really, I just did it. And it's been such an amazing part of my career as a teacher because I can now use my own story to teach my students. And that just, not only I read the story to them, but hey, this is an author and I'm the author of this book. And this is an illustrator. This is what an illustrator does. My illustrator did this. So
Right.
it can make the experience more meaningful for my students and everyone who's connected to me. So I would not have been able to do that at all if I were in any other field. So teaching has really just been that blessing. And you can get the book at lolapitts.com or dionnedumas.com. Either one of those will get you right to my website. But if you are local and you are on my Instagram or Facebook page, Instagram is I Love Lola Pitts. And my Facebook page is Dionne Blackmon Dumas, my author page. If you just message me and you're local, I can get the book to you. I can meet up with you and you can get it autographed. If you get it online, it may not be autographed. But if you are local,
And I
I
spelled the
can.
last name correctly, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
And I
you all,
recently updated it to lolapitts.com as well. So if you can't remember Dionne Dumas, my character is Lola Pitts, Green Eggs and Grits. You can go on lolapitts.com and that will pop up for you.
okay. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, um, well, one of the things that I want to tell the viewers, and I know that we have parents that's watching, as well. And, don't really stifle your child's creativity because, they don't have to just do one thing for the rest of their life.
It's
For
true.
example, Mrs. Joseph, she's not only a teacher, but she's an author as well, and
Yes.
so there are so many different things that we're interested in. And I'll say a big word for any kids that's watching, but don't pigeonhole yourself. And what that
Yes.
means is don't say, okay, just because I'm good at this, I can only do this for the rest of my life. There's so
Right.
many other things that you could be successful at and that you enjoy doing because you were created, with a mind that just enjoys exploring and doing so many other things. So never
It's
let
true.
anybody tell you that you can't do something, because you're this. That's not true. Prove
That
them
is the truth.
wrong. So
That is the truth. And I have a couple of people that tell me, you can't save everybody. You can't do everything. And I'm like, watch me. Like,
mm,
you can't tell me what I can't do and what I'm not going to be able to do. And there's so many things after writing this book, so many more things creatively have come to me. That's why I'm so glad that I met you because you don't know it yet, but you're going to really help me roll out all these things
you
that are in my head to do.
you don't know it yet, but this
You don't know yet. But
ain't
as things come, you can't say, oh, well, like you said, I'm stuck in this job or I'm stuck in this career. You're never stuck. I was teaching at the jail with criminals before I became a teacher. I was working in shelters with homeless teens before I became a teacher.
Mhm.
I did real estate before I became a teacher. I did. So there's so many things, and I still have a large interest in real estate.
Mhm.
I'm still doing some. I'm starting back doing some real estate investing. I'm starting back into doing more community service type things like I did before with the homeless. And teaching doesn't mean I can't do those things.
Mhm.
Um, can do all things. I can do everything, and don't ever let anyone tell you what you can't do.
That's
Mhm.
good. So now I'm going to post this question so you can see it as well. So Eric Blackman says, "How do you handle situations where your students, parents, or parents are not following through with your lesson plan, homework, or just not as involved in their child's study? That's a good
I go,
question.
I go knock on their door.
I know that's right. I know where you
I knock on their door and I say, "Hi, I haven't seen you in a while, and your child is missing these reading assignments. And it seems like you all might need a little bit of um, my assistance. I would love to come and sit with you for a minute and show you how to do this." Um, I think that parents, especially in this day and age where everything is digital and there's television, there's internet, there's cell phones, and the children are just born knowing how to use a cell phone, that parents have gotten out of the routine of doing all of the learning things that our parents did for us when we were children.
Mhm.
So, growing up, I remember being read to. Homework was important, and my mom checked our folders. That was the first thing when she got home. What's in your folder? Do you have any notes from your teacher? These days, parents are busy. Children can be irresponsible, and that emphasis on education is just not as strong as it was. Thanks, Brenda. It's not as strong as it was back um, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even. So I take a very proactive and interactive approach to my teaching because I understand that parents have issues as well. So I don't penalize them or judge them. Everyone's a product of their life experience, and even the pre-K parents have to be um, they have to be taught in a sense that these are the things that we need to do in order for your child to be successful. When I put it to them like that, like, I need your child to be successful in this, and
Mhm.
this is how we can accomplish that. And I can't just accomplish that from 8 to 3 every day. I need you to do this in the evening. I need you to do this on the weekends. And I don't mind coming to your home, especially if there's chicken. And we just work it out, and I model it. Um, One of the things that you're going to be helping me with is doing some things digitally so that my parents can see what I'm teaching in the classroom, so that when they get home, because these days, even elementary school homework is daunting for these parents. They have this new way of teaching things.
Y'all sure do. Oh my gosh. And I'm not even a parent. I'll be seeing it on Facebook.
Yes, it is. It can be intimidating for a parent, which is why a lot of parents just send their child to school and wash their hands of education. Um, but I am very interactive with my parents so that they know we're a team, we're working together. I keep my relationships as positive as possible, as uplifting as possible. Um, and I just try to work with my parents where I can to help them um, be better educationally for their children.
So I do want to talk to you a little bit more about how you actually transitioned to becoming a teacher, because you did tell us that you have a psychology degree, correct?
Yes.
So now let's say that you just went that traditional route, and you knew you want to be a teacher. What degree would that individual have to get?
They would get a bachelor's in education
Okay.
degree. Um, and when I became a teacher, because I did not have that bachelor of education, I did not have all of the skills. To this day, I'm like, are y'all sure y'all want to put me in this classroom? Because I just came from the jail, right? But when I tell you how God works, um, I took the pre-K to third test because I just figured that would be the easiest test to take, me not knowing anything about teaching when I started. I took the pre-K to third test and I passed it the first time. From there, I took the K to 6 test and I also passed that one. There was another school that was going to hire me for second or third grade, and they were dragging their feet a little bit about putting me in a position. And that's when the principal at the time at Hungerford saw that I had my application in the system and that I had that pre-K to third certification. Most teachers get the K to 6, they don't get that pre-K to third. because K-6 covers a wider range. But I was the only applicant to fill their pre-K position because all the other applicants had K-6. I was the only one, and I was the most inexperienced one. I had never stepped foot in a classroom, but I ended up being the most qualified for the
Hmm.
job, and that's how I got the job at Hungerford. So that is nothing but God,
Yeah.
that I wasn't even qualified other than this piece of paper, this test I passed, and I've been there ever since. So um, with the psychology degree, though, it did help me to know about those different personalities, different learning styles, and how to recognize um, situations that children might be in, or why they may or may not be getting a concept. And so that degree did help me in my teaching career. But because I went into teaching without that prior knowledge, I immediately went and got my Master of Arts degree.
Okay.
So, and a lot of the teachers that I work with also have their master's degree. You get paid just a little bit more, but you also get more in-depth training on um, working with different types of children, different types of families, um, different types of situations that come up in teaching that you may not get in your bachelor program.
Gotcha. So now, so you're saying that a person, let's say they just got their, I want to say you said the bachelor's of education, right? So then they could just go right into teaching because they have that degree. They wouldn't have to do any additional testing.
No, I do believe there is a certification test they have to take
Oh, okay.
after they get their degree, but most education programs thoroughly prepare you for that certification test.
Okay, okay. And so, so because you had your psychology degree, then
Yes,
you was able to just go right into that certification.
right.
Once you already passed that PK through third certification test, why did you take another test?
Because the principal of the first school that was going to hire me was thinking of putting me in fourth grade. And so my certification only went up to third grade. So she said it will make you more marketable anyway, just go ahead and take it. And I think that was just a way for them to stall in hiring me because I was originally supposed to go into second grade
Gotcha.
at her school. But I took that test and passed that test as well. But, you know, that was not what was in the plans for me anyway.
Hmm.
So I've been at Hungerford and Eatonville. Everyone should know about Eatonville. It's the first Black township in this United States.
Really?
First African American, yes, township formed in the United States.
See, and you see, that's how that's why she's a teacher, y'all. She like, I'm just not gonna let y'all leave this show without knowing something.
No, no, we got to rep Eatonville and
I
the
know
Zora Neale Hurston Festival. Zora Neale Hurston from Eatonville.
I didn't know. See, and see, I've
Yes,
only been March will be well, it is March, but this is only my third year of being here. I've been so
okay.
focused on like figuring out what I want to do with my life.
Yes,
I haven't really explored like the other, cities.
yes,
But when I came to your school, then that's when I was really able to see the richness of
yes,
Edenville
yes.
as well. So I know that we've talked about your degrees. What other careers could you possibly go into with your certifications, if any?
I could go into counseling.
Okay.
I could be a school counselor, especially with a psychology degree. But even with an education degree, I could go into counseling. I could go into curriculum development. I could go into training. In fact, the pre-K teacher that I replaced, she is now my supervisor. She is a director of early childhood affairs at our office, at the VPK Early Childhood Office. So, um, lots of things in the educational field you could do. You could go into writing and curriculum development,
Hmm.
which is something I'm looking into doing as well with years of seeing what works and what doesn't work. And then years of seeing things that I'm already doing in the classroom being published by somebody else.
Mhm.
That'll probably be one of the next things that I do as well. So there's many career fields you can go into, depending also on your specialty. Many teachers who are very tech savvy, they go into technical careers. Um, Principal, dean, so many other. You could be a reading coach, you can be a math coach. So you don't necessarily have your specific classroom, but if you're great in math, you can coach children and help them to be better at math or better at reading. So
But you know, the interesting thing that you just shared with us that I never thought about, and you tell me if I'm wrong. So I'm thinking, let's say, because okay, so I enjoy um, like creating like a development, for example, the curriculum, for example.
yes,
But I'm not. I like kids. I don't want y'all get. I don't want y'all inboxing me. I like kids, you know. But I couldn't see myself being a teacher. Could somebody do that? Like maybe had that career field in curriculum development and not truly like enjoy
it,
kids. They could, huh?
they do it all the time. They do it all the time. There are many times when we look at the things that they give us to teach the students, and we're like, these people must not ever be around kids at all because this isn't going to work. If you don't like children and you don't go around the children, you should not be creating anything for children. But like I said, it's done all day, every day, and it shows in the classroom. That's when we have to put on a song and regroup and say,
Uh-huh.
okay, that didn't work. Let's come up with something else.
But with the curriculum train like development and things like that, are you saying that maybe your principal gives you this curriculum and you had to find a creative way to teach it to your class so that your students will pass this test? Is that how that works?
Yes. Well, not my principal. The state and the VPK department actually mandates the curriculum that we use. The principal does get the curriculum for the upper grades. And yes, that's with every teacher, though. We take the curriculum that you're giving us for every child, and then we have to tailor it, differentiate it to every single student because no two students are alike. So your auditory learners, your kinesthetic learners, your visual learners, you have to tailor your lessons for
Mhm.
every student. You have to be creative. Otherwise you'll be talking to a brick wall and they'll be looking at you like you're talking to a brick wall.
Mhm.
So
So
yes, we have to be creative. We have to uh, differentiate the instruction.
yeah, and I feel like that would be so difficult because I would be like, why can't you all just learn this one way?
And I have those moments. I have those moments where I have just turned cartwheels teaching letters. And then, like over Christmas break, we come back and I just do a quick review test to see, okay, where we're going to start. And they have forgotten just about every letter I taught them. I'm like, but it's in your brain. I put it in there. Where is it? Go get it. You know, um, and so I got to turn cartwheels again to bring them up to speed and train the children to use their brain, train them to remember, train them to think, train them how to file information in their brain. So when I ask you a question, you know the pathway in your brain to go get it
Mm,
and tell it back to me. And so that in itself, it can be just like, I just taught you that. I, And then you have some kids that everything you tell them, everything you show them, they just soak it up, and they remember. So every child is different. And so I have to find ways to reach those students that aren't getting it the way the other students got it. And that can be very challenging, very frustrating, but so rewarding when they actually get it.
mhm.
So rewarding. And the
Yeah,
child knows that they've gotten it. And I make sure that they know, hey, do you remember you didn't know how to do this? And now you know how to do it. It's great. And we all celebrate,
that's good.
that child. And then that helps them say, hey, well, maybe I don't remember all this other stuff she's telling me.
Mhm.
So it's a growth process and it can be frustrating, but very, very satisfying.
Definitely. So now we do have your daughter that's watching. She says, "Hi, mommy." She said, "Did you ever think that your career would be teaching? And if not, what was your mindset when you changed to teaching?" How do you pronounce your daughter's name?
Dadian.
Jadian. I was thinking the same thing because I was about to ask you, what did you do before 2006? Like, I just was briefly, this is so cool. So I was briefly just about to ask you, like, what did you do before 2006? Because I want to start speaking a little bit to those adults who do want to make a career change. So talk
Yes.
to us about that.
Yes. And it was a very scary time
Mm-hmm.
for me. I was working at 33rd at the jail, teaching life skills using that psychology degree. And just kind of fell into that. Before that, like I said, I was working at shelters. And before that, I actually went to doing real estate because of Jadian. Because when I had her, I did not want to go back to work. I didn't want to put her in childcare. I wanted to be with her. And she and I had a very rich educational beginning along with her brother Jeffrey Deuce, because she and I still to this day we sing Blues Clues songs together, we sing Backyardigans songs together, like though all of those learning things I was able to do that with her, and it was very rewarding for me raising them. So I would like to say that my children over the years gave me that desire to want to give the same thing that I was able to do for them to other children, because I really enjoy staying home with both of them and watching them learn and grow in those early years before they started kindergarten. But then, life happens, and I eventually had to go and work somewhere. So that's how I ended up doing those jobs, but just was not satisfied. So if you're in a job and you are not satisfied with that job, or if you're just like you're dreading going every day, or you just know in your heart of hearts that this is not what you were put on this planet to do,
Mm-hmm.
then start searching your soul to see what is it you were put on this planet to do, and just begin taking those steps to do it. And once you do that, take those steps, I promise you everything else falls in line. And it can be scary because I didn't know anything about teaching. Like I said, when the principal said, "Okay, you got the job," and I was like, "Are you sure?" Like, I wasn't expecting to get the job,
Mm-hmm.
because and she said, "Well," and then they snatched me up like, "You have to start now." And I was like, "Are you sure? Because do I get a training first? Because in corporate America, that's what you're used to, training, and you get a week." No, they threw me in that classroom, and but they did give me a lot of support. But I just feel like um, it was my children and my experience with raising my children that made me want to eventually leave what I was doing, which also was very rewarding. I was able to help a lot of inmates. I think, change their mindset a little bit, get on the right track. There are children who were in the shelter that I used to work for that I still to this day keep in touch with. They thank God for Facebook and all of these social media that they're able to stay in touch with me, and I'm able to see their success.
Mm-hmm.
So, those jobs were very rewarding, but it's just not what I was meant to do. And so um, I also needed to be on my children's schedule. So dropping them off to childcare when I did have to go back to work, and then going to a job that I hated, and then every other week it seemed like they were out of school for something. Especially they had Labor Day, Memorial Day, Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, spring break, President's Day, and I always had to find somebody else to watch them. And I said, you know what, I need to be on your schedule. I
Yeah.
need to be off when you're off,
Mm-hmm.
when JD and Deuce were off. So that also helped my decision. It just worked for my family. It was something that I had to do for my family, and it was something that I enjoyed doing anyway. In raising you, JD and Deuce.
That's a great question. So this is actually going to be our last question. Brenda Lee says, "I watch you interact with little ones, and you do it so well. The passion is there, but if you had to teach another grade, what would it be?"
if I if I had to teach another grade, I would either go up to just up to kindergarten, again, because I'm so passionate about giving kids such a strong foundation. Children who don't do well in third, fourth, and fifth grade didn't get that rich foundational education at pre-K, kindergarten, and first.
Okay.
And I've actually been toying with the idea of eventually moving to high school, just going from one extreme to the other.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not sure why, but that was dropped in my spirit maybe just a month or so ago.
Oh, wow.
Because again, my children are about to go off to college, and so you- I just was thinking, I wonder what it would be like to teach kids who already know how to blow their own nose and
Use the bathroom.
and go to the bathroom on their own. Yes, and so
So,
I definitely would not do middle school. So it
why
would either,
though?
oh, yeah, I don't
Like,
think I
how
could
do you
handle
know?
it.
I guess, like, what does that difference look like?
Um,
Because they going through puberty and stuff like
Puberty, there's hormonal changes, they're discovering themselves, and
that.
girls and boys, and the focus is just not the focus on education, and the value of education just isn't there. In pre-K and their early grades, children still want to learn and they love to come to school. And then in high school, they want to get out. And so their motivation is to come to school and do well so they can graduate. So in middle school, there's no motivation at all.
Because they like, shoot, I still got 4 more years of this.
Yes. So
Oh,
thank you, Brenda. That is a great question. I may move up to high school and then maybe catch some of my pre-Ks on the back end that I taught on the front end. If
uh-huh.
I were going to go, that's what I would do.
Well, you all have asked some great questions. And Dionne, I definitely just thank you so much for being my Miss March and really just helping me to have a better understanding and our viewers have a better understanding of the life of a teacher. Make sure you all visit todayiwanttobe.com to sign up your child to become a co-host because that's the concept of the show. I want the middle schoolers through college students to actually be asking the professionals questions. So when you go to the website, right there, it'll say at the top, join the movement, and then you can click on become a co-host. Also, don't forget that I'm looking for Black men and Black women who loves their job because I want to feature them in my 2021 calendar. So if you're interested, make sure you go ahead and comment below and I will send you that link. So now don't comment below if you're not going to fill out the questionnaire, because that is just the first step. But my last question to you, Dionne, is why did you want to be a part of the Today I Want to Be calendar?
Because, first of all, I think it is an ingenious concept that I wish I had when I was younger. So I wanted to just be a part of something that encouraged young people to start thinking ahead about what you could possibly want to be. And, kids get asked that question as soon as they're able to speak. What do you want to be? I want to be a firefighter. My students, I want to be a superhero. I want to be a princess. But
Yeah.
as you get older, to really start taking seriously, and start thinking just internally about the different paths that you could take. Start
Mhm.
focusing on the strengths that you have and what professions will fit those strengths.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to be a part of that. A lot of people say they want to be a teacher. And like you said, you have to have these certain qualities. And if you don't have these qualities, then teaching may not be for you.
Mhm.
Or you may have never thought of being a teacher, but I absolutely love it. You might love it too. So
Mhm.
I did want to participate in that. And I thank you so much for including me.
And I thank you for being a part of it. as well. One of the great things about the calendar is not only do we do these career exploration interviews, we also have weekly goals for the kids as well as words of encouragement. And one of the great things about Dionne, she is just so encouraging. And so when I reached out to these professionals, I asked them, I said, act like nobody else is encouraging this young person. What would you say to them? And so that's just sprinkled throughout the year, in the calendar. So we do have those weekly goals, and it's an interactive calendar. So if you're interested in just being informed when I do release my 2021 calendar, make sure you just send me your email comment below that you're interested in being notified when I do release the newest calendar as well. I truly do enjoy you all for just taking time to watch another episode of Today I Want to Be Career Exploration interview that we had. Thank you again, Miss Dionne Joseph, Miss
Thank you.
March, and tell everybody when your birthday is.
My birthday is Tuesday, March 17th, thus the green. I love green.
Birthday.
So please, everybody, wear green on my birthday and post it to I Love Lola Pitts on my Instagram. Be seen in green on March 17th.
And don't forget, if you all are interested in purchasing, um, I don't want this to be a thingy. Let me change this right quick because I want people to just see it. So if you're in, and this is the correct website, correct?
Yes, lolapitts.com.
Okay, so if you're interested in purchasing Dionne's book, then make sure you go to the website and purchase her book. We hope that you guys have a great night, and we will talk to you all later. Bye bye.
Bye.
Good job.